We're probably going to get rolling because just like last week, start off day one is kind of here's everything, and then Wednesday we'll keep working through getting some of the settings down and stuff like that, and then Friday have you guys shoot one on your own while we're waiting for them. Let's look at this. The Film Supply Edit Fest, I guess it's an annual thing. It's what it sounds like, Alex. Is that how you kind of took it? Because they definitely show winners from previous years. I know that. They have 3 categories: title sequence, advertisement, and movie trailer. Okay, so title sequence, like what an intro of a feature film typically uses a title sequence. We don't use them as often when we're doing, hey guys, when we're doing short films, because you typically want to get into the story faster. So that was a title sequence, I think, that won last year. Movie trailer, let's play, I think this was short, 1 minute. This is all, at least 50% has to be their footage, right, Alex? So you can shoot stuff, but... So at least half that footage came from the Film Supply stock media site, and then they could add in other stuff, and I'm sure they did all the graphics and transitions. One of the things I like about these editing competitions is it gives you a chance to really experiment. I did a music video once, so I was able to try techniques that a client I likely wouldn't want to do on a paid gig, and that most of my documentaries would never need. So this isn't something that you have to do for me, just wanted to let you guys know. It's a 30-day contest. If you go to Film Supply Edit Fest, you can download your starter kit and everything. It has a list of all the people who are judging. I'm not sure who they are, but they typically have a good resume under their belt, so it's always good for that little getting your chance to show stuff out there. And prizes. I've never won anything off something like this, but like I said, you can really have some fun editing. I have had a friend who won like $2,000, and they gave him like a GoPro package and all this stuff, and he basically shot like a third, and then he used the rest was whichever contest that was. It was a while back. So something to think about, the Film Supply Edit Fest. We're gonna kick right into the next part of our variable frame rates project. Last week was mostly high speed with some under stuff that you guys shot at like 2, 6, 18. Did you shoot at 12? Am I missing any frame rates that you tried? I don't think you did either. May not have been an option on that particular camera. If it was like the red camera, you could dial that right in with the EVA1. It has some settings that you have to work with. So this week, we're going to do pretty much the same approach that we had to the bottle drops, where day one, I'm really helping you. We're setting it up. We're getting it figured out. Wednesday, you're going to be getting some more shots, but we're still going to dial in on some features like the tools, settings, all those things, different filters. And then by Friday, you're going to just go out and shoot yourself a time lapse for whatever period of time that takes from you to set up to finish. So, and just like with the bottle drop, I'm kind of giving you a base subject matter to focus on. So we're just going to follow the sun across during that peak morning. So one of the very first things that you have to have for this type of shooting, and one of the things I really want to point out extensively with this part of the project, is this is one of the most affordable ways to get super cinematic footage, because you're working with photography, lining it into the frames that'll eventually be 24 frames per second. The first thing I do is I got to check the weather. A lot of time lapse, especially in Kansas, storms, clouds, weather patterns are very good subject for this particular area in the Midwest. And you can shoot some really remarkable stuff. So one of the first things I need to see is, do I have enough exposure? What kind of a day am I going to be dealing with? Today, it's going to get hot enough. 90 degrees is pretty warm. Humidity, 39 degrees. That's something that when you're working in the field, when we were in Columbia, we constantly had really high humidity above 80%. That meant it would take about a half hour for my camera to get acclimated. Once I left my hotel room, I'd have to sit there with a cloth and just keep wiping off the condensation until it got acclimated to that moisture. In the Midwest, we don't have to worry about that so much, but people who shoot in Florida tend to have little moisture packets that they carry in all their bags and things like that to keep everything from getting too much moisture in it. So not anything to stress about too much here. But if you travel, be cognizant of that, because many of you are going to end up shooting in other places. Manny is located in Atlanta now, but he basically shoots 50% of the time from Miami to South Carolina to Texas. Depending on where he's at, he has to pack accordingly. So equipment is going to be a big part of today's discussion and how you plan for that. Also, super important, sunrise and sunset. I'll come back to this because I'm not using this app for that as much. And I pay for the Weather Channel app. I think I pay, like $30 a year. It's worth it to me because we have such erratic weather in Kansas that I obviously use it for severe storms and things like that. But the free options, all this stuff, as you can see, for skipping 4 down, the apps can be free and you get a lot of usage out of them. Now for Wednesday, we have a potential chance, a little bit of wind, so the tripod matters. Our intervalometer is going to matter because of that. You don't want shaky images. Humidity is up to 74. We might have a little more moisture to deal with when it comes to keeping our lenses and our filters clean. And it's a little cooler out. 50% chance of rain. And then kicking forward to Friday for the last part of this part of the project. And it says 49% chance rain. Maybe we'll get some storms rolling through. That would be really cool. If it's just overcast, it might make for a tough subject matter, but we also have polarizer lenses, which we'll talk about extensively, and how those help you. So we have neutral density, polarizer, and then just no filter at all. And I want you to experiment with those different things and see throughout this week which one's working better. Which one did we use for the last part of the assignment, for the stuff with the bottle drop? We'll come back to it, but the polarizer is the one that cuts through reflection better. It'll also give you more details in the clouds. Neutral density is one that's more like your sunglasses. So if we had put that on, we would have needed way more light than you guys already had. Okay, so I'm going to kick back to the beginning here. And I want to talk about what these tools are and how this is just such an affordable way to really make a motion picture. It's a great place to start when you're on a budget. So we have 3 or 4 different types of intervalometers because they're very affordable. And so $34 is about the most I was seeing. We paid like $19.99 for these, I'm pretty sure. So I put $25 because I found some of the other newer version of this brand at about that cost. Part of the reason we have different ones is they often come with the camera. So and some of these came with this kit for free. And we just didn't need them for a lot of our assignments until we get into some of this particular stuff. They do more than just time lapses. You can also do some really cool long exposure with them. The other reason we have different brands is because they last forever. One of these we found in a box that hadn't been touched in years. It was still on and running. The battery is just a couple of AAAs. Lasted literally years with this thing just sitting on, from what we could tell. So they're really hardy little devices that aren't heavy. They're not complicated. It's a really good thing just to have in your kit, because you never know if you're going to be doing various types of stuff with a DSLR or a mirrorless, whichever one that you're using. Those intervalometers are great tools to work with it. And when we go outside, I'll show you how simple it is just to navigate through. They're about real comparable to like our little lavs. These little Tascam lavs that you guys have been using in audio, they're so simple and basic. The menu is really basic, and it's really hard to like screw it up, you know, with just one sit down with them. I really compared the intervalometers to that kind of complexity and learning curve. I think you guys will be benefiting from them pretty fast. So the intervalometer, great little tool, so easy to get your hands on. And in our case, we've got some for free just with other camera kits. All of them are pretty affordable. This $40 one looks like it has a remote timer with it as well, so that makes it an extra accessory, but we won't be using that. Unless you have a camera you want to shoot with, I was just going to have you guys all work with the basic Canon DSLR, because I have different filters and enough for you guys to try different things. But like I know Michael, you've been shooting with the G85. You're welcome to use that too. It will do it. I'm just going to base all of this kind of structure off of what we're off these four, because then you can pair up to each and work together on that. They run. I found this one for $400 used. We've sell ours with a kit lens for $350, I think it is, but we don't always have them available. So super affordable, brand new. I think I found them for like $850. What they're capable of is really impressive. Some of my best photography came from just little T-series cameras, and I learned a ton from that process. And they really are photography-centric cameras, and what we're doing for this assignment is not video mode. You're going to be taking stills all the way through to put that together in your 24 frame per second timeline. So what these cameras do really well, they still do really well. They really hold up. We still have a T3i at home, and my old job we used a T2i quite a bit. Not a lot for video, but more for photos. So with the lens, that's the other thing about this, we have two 18-55 kit lenses, just like what you used last year, unless you were on the Panasonics. And then we have an 18-135. Not a lot of difference, but the 18-55 has a 58 millimeter diameter, and the 18-135 has a 67. So the difference is as much as this on the diameter that you have. And that's why you can't use that filter. You can't just trade it across. So a couple of you are going to have the 58, and a couple of you are going to have the 67 to work with. That shouldn't make much of a difference for what we're doing on this particular project, because you're shooting so wide anyways. We'll dig more into filters when we go outside, because then you'll actually visually be able to see it. So tripods, another thing that's great about this is you don't need a heavy tripod for a simple DSLR kit or mirrorless kit. This tripod is like $50. It would hold it just fine. And because of the intervalometer, when you have it on the tripod, even if your tripod's not super professional, well, this one's not even holding up here. Even if your tripod's super light and cheap, and it shakes and it kind of moves in the wind a little bit, this intervalometer will keep you from having to touch the camera itself. And you can set this to take a photo, and then you can set it to the side, and then you're not touching your tripod anymore. Whew. Okay, so this one's a little too cheap. But what I looked up earlier is I found a lot of them between 50 and $100 that I would suggest. This one right here, Small Rig, is a good company. I think we actually have this exact one, maybe. I think we have 3 of these too. So I like them better than that one. We've tried different cheap ones. And this one breaks down into a monopod. You can set it sideways on its side so you can get a vertical shot, which is pretty cool. If you're doing, they're photography-centric tripods, but they do stay a little more affordable because of that. And this one also has, I believe, a smartphone holder, so you can stick your phone on the tripod as well. So that's a nice little added cheap feature. Hey, Jason. So we're going to talk about the DSLR settings. We're going to stay in manual, obviously. And if you're doing long exposure for something else, I'll show you guys bulb mode as well. So you can, but you won't be able to do that when it's this bright. You'd have to take it with you and do it in the evening. But that's how, if you're shooting something in the stars, works. The sun positioning app, let's cover that real fast. This is great for when you're planning this out. Any type of shoot that's going to be outside. We found a couple of different ones. SunQuest is a good Apple version. Zoe said there's a free version and a paid. And so essentially what you can see, barely, is as the sun's moving across the sky, you move your phone along and you can see where it's going to be hitting. So when you're shooting your time lapse, you have a good idea of where you need to position yourself. Is this tree going to be in the way? Do I need to move? And this is super helpful. I like going out a day or two before when I can to a location and getting a good idea of where everything is going to be hitting. And you can absolutely do these same types of apps for nighttime stuff as well. Typically, this one has some other features that I don't know because I haven't played with, but other cool things. Real estate, architecture, landscaping, so aerial views of your space. Maybe if you're trying to figure out where to plant a tree or something. Then some other interesting features, live view, map view. And I don't know what all it allows for free, but that's an app for if you were looking at one for a Mac. And then pretty much the same thing. I use, this is called Sun Positioning app, the Sun Positioning app. And it is, you can pay $8. I haven't paid for it, and I've been able to do all of these kinds of things without any issue, which is a really great way to see. So when we did family photos outside, I went the day before to the location. I knew exactly where we needed to go the next day, because you don't want to do it too far in advance or it's not going to be as helpful. But when we went back the next day, my daughter was kind of throwing a fit, but I knew exactly where the sun would be. I'm like, we have about 12 minutes for her to finish her fit, and then we could take the rest of our photos. And so we basically took her to the swing, played with her for a while, and we still had a window of about 15 minutes before we lost our light, and we were able to get our stuff. So that really helped Lex, who is out of Wichita. I was able to tell her, where I wanted to position ourselves, where I thought the light would be good, and what time it would hit. And that's, you see 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 8:29. Then it's breaking, so then it goes from golden hour to blue hour. You guys know the difference? Has anybody ever dabbled with that? So your golden hour is your last rough hour of light. Could be more, could be less, depending on the time of year. Blue hour is your first hour of night. And you typically can still get some shots. Golden hour is great. Blue hour, you might be able to still get some things. And then after that, it gets to be a little too dark. Too bright before golden hour, too dark after blue hour. So those apps are super helpful. Take advantage of your smartphone. What a great tool that you have. Not to mention your smartphone will probably have a time-lapse mode of some sort, but we're not going to go into that. So yeah, just kind of wheeling back around. This is a very affordable, very doable. It doesn't take a lot of media. It does take a lot of battery, but since these batteries are a lot simpler, the battery for this camera, this whole kit from what we were using with the Red and the EVA1, those batteries were running more than what one of these lenses cost. And in this case, you can stack up a whole bunch of Canon batteries or Panasonic batteries and really be loaded in for a whole weekend of shooting and not even weigh down your bag. So all of it is extremely accessible, extremely easy to pick up, and where it really gets you on time lapses is the commitment, the time. It is extremely time consuming. Your subject is going to take a while to work its way through the frame. So think of your storm, think of your sunset, any other time lapse that might be, like a building going up, a plant growing. A lot of those things that you see utilized a whole bunch, whether it's from science or entertainment purposes, it was really more of a commitment of time. Yeah, let's jump into, let's grab, partner up. Well, we might have, I know we have enough intervalometers. I don't know if we have enough filters. So when I'm showing you the polarizer and the neutral density, that's why we're gonna partner up. I don't really care how, but we're just gonna go right out back here. We're gonna look at where the sun's at, download a free version of one of these apps, at least one of you and your partner team group, and then we'll pull everything outside and we'll start going over it.